There's one symptom that really tells you that somebody has an adrenal problem. Okay. One symptom. That symptom is what is adrenal fatigue? People are like, is it just high? Is it just low? Is it just the cortisols? It's so much bigger than that. For me, is that everything that's not crazy ass high, which is Cushing's, and everything that's not Addison's crazy ass low is in the middle, is what we call adrenal fatigue. That's the gray zone, and it's huge. And 100% of people with autoimmune disease is in the gray zone.
Mm.
So it can be high, it can be low, it can even be fluctuating. Therefore, if that's the case, then it would make it hard to then understand data. If you don't understand that there's all these different patterns. On top of it, adrenal fatigue from a data standpoint, there's a normal pattern that your adrenals should function at, which is you should peak some of your adrenals hormones in the morning and they should go down at later in the afternoon. And then at night, they should keep going down. But
Mm.
we often find is that people with autoimmune disease, blood sugar problems, other hormonal issues will have sometimes the opposite pattern. So if you don't understand patterns and somebody's just like, what's my morning cortisol? And that's the be all end all. Oh, I'm going to find a doctor who's going to test my cortisol. And they're like, oh, it's high or oh, it's low. You didn't get jack shit done. You didn't get jack shit done because it's like there's this diurnal rhythm of what happens during the day, in the day and at night. It requires multiple times of testing throughout the day. It also requires a deep understanding of what some of these patterns are and what that means for someone with autoimmune disease. So, what is adrenal fatigue is everything in the gray zone. But
Mhm.
because everything in the gray zone could be high, low, or fluctuating, the symptoms can be all over the map. So, what I want to do is I just want to give you guys a taster of what I know, what I and how I teach, and some of the real results that we've seen in the program. And so, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I just want to give you an idea. This is just one of the slides that are in the program, but I want to give you an idea that this is what a normal adrenal curve should look like on the right. There should be a peak in the morning and there should be a gradual down throughout the day. Okay, this is what a normal curve should look like. And then next, this is a typical pattern I see in the program on the right here, where this person completely gone with their DHEA, one of the adrenal hormones. And then you look at the cortisol, this person is almost flatlining over here. So this is not an uncommon scenario for us to see. And this is the same person who's sitting here like dying of POTS or has brain fog so bad that she can't even function, is losing her job as a chemical engineer, and being told that she doesn't have an adrenal problem. And look at that DHEA and look at that cortisol in the morning. And I have practitioners who says they're hormone experts telling someone that this result is normal. They're exhausted, that brain fog, they may have physical injuries or they may like, let's say I'm going to go to grocery shop today, but I'm going to pay for 3 days.
Mm.
They don't have the ability to repair because they have no resiliency of their adrenal gland, which is helpful for normal daily function as well. So, unfortunately, this is even the worst case. This is the average case that we see in the program, right?
Right.
But typically, when we think about adrenal fatigue, the word fatigue is in there. But what we don't realize is there are phases of adrenal fatigue. Like stage one of adrenal fatigue for me is what we call arousal, where certain of these numbers and symptoms could be elevated.
Yeah.
So you could be actually even wired or have anxiety, but then be exhausted later. And you could be what I call stage one adrenal fatigue, which is arousal.
Right.
It's not the good kind of arousal.
No, I know that I was joking with my husband about that too. I was like, "By the way, I have arousal," and he was like, "Well, that sounds maybe like a good thing." I was
No,
like,
not sexy, babe.
"That's
Not
probably
that
why."
kind of arousal. It's the kind of arousal where you're not sleeping all night, you're wired and tired, where the anxiety is through the roof, where you just feel like even your autoimmune disease symptoms are fluctuating all over the map. The adrenals, the hormones that the adrenals produce are really important for maintaining a certain level of metabolism, blood pressure, salt, potassium content, water content in your body. There's a lot of different things that the adrenal glands are doing. And it's not just a matter of high or low, just like hormones is the same thing. Those of you who've heard me teach on hormones, those of you see me go over Anne's results live. Those of you who've been through my hormone masterclass knows it's not about high or low of one hormone that tells you what your hormone balance is. It's understanding these patterns of the relationship between these hormones. That's really important. So adrenal fatigue can be tired and wired, stage one arousal, but you can have stage two, stage three adrenal fatigue, end stage, which is like I call stage three, end stage for me, would be really flatline on a lot of hormones and really just drop dead tired with your body's ability to have resiliency from stressors is really low. So, which is why we got somebody who was talking about having the long haul,
Mhm.
and we see some of these results. A lot of times people will think like, oh, they think they know what their results are because they might be like, oh, I must be totally flatline because I'm tired and I'm dead as a dog. And no, that's not true. This is where data is really important. And those people might sitting here erroneously be like, I'm tired, I'm low, so it must be like end stage adrenal fatigue. I better take a bunch of adrenal boosters to boost that cortisol and all this stuff. And it can be the absolute wrong thing to do because it's not that simple. It's not that simple.
There's people in the chat right now telling us, this person said, "Hey, I wake up really alert 9 or 10 p.m." Somebody's saying the same thing happens to them around 3 or 4 a.m.
I love this post right here. It says, I get up at 3, 4 a.m. and I will wake up wide awake for no reason.
There's a reason.
Alumni, can you type in all the reasons why people with autoimmune disease wake up in the middle of the night over and over again?
Well,
There
there's Lynn with one.
we go. Boom.
Yep.
Your blood sugar is tanking. So there's this whole interplay, like this one symptom. There's one symptom that really tells you that somebody has an adrenal problem. Okay. One symptom. Okay. That symptom is waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. If I had to pick one symptom, that's the most important symptom to pay attention to as to whether or not you have adrenal problems is, do you sleep through the night? Do you wake up in the middle of the night? And when you wake up, are you like wired? Is your brain going crazy? Like,
Heart
um,
rate.
heart racing, trouble falling back asleep. That is a clear sign because blood sugar and adrenal fatigue is hand in hand, kissing cousins. Kissing cousins. Which is why we have 5 pillars in our program, everybody. So really interestingly, for those of you guys dealing with autoimmunity and you're wondering like, oh my God, this is the first time I'm hearing how this is connected. I have a training called the 5 pillars where I actually go through what are the underlying root causes of autoimmune disease. And I can already tell you how 2 of these is already connected. We just talked about how blood sugar, one of the pillars, is totally connected with the hormone pillar, and because blood sugar problems fuel these cortisol problems, that adrenal problems that happen. And middle of the night is one of the best examples I teach from, is where if you're waking up in the middle of the night, you must have really low blood sugar plummeting in the middle of the night. And those sends cortisol sky high at night. And here's the tip, everybody. Cortisol should be super low at night. And cortisol and melatonin are always opposite. So if you're supposed to be low on cortisol at night, you're supposed to be high in melatonin. But what if you're flipped? Well, that means you're really high in cortisol and really low in melatonin. You ain't sleeping, babe.
Not what you want.
You ain't sleeping, babe. And we just mentioned one of the underlying causes, blood sugar problems in the middle of the night. And if you have blood sugar problems in the middle of the night, you have blood sugar problems all freaking day. And you need the blood sugar mastery.
Yeah, and you can turn it around so quickly in the program, as evidenced by what Kayla and about 3 or 4 other people are saying in chat right now. Kayla said, fixed it in week 2 of the program after 10 months of awful insomnia, and it's
2
gone.
weeks. 2
Yep.
weeks.
Mhm.
Okay.
Margaret said the same thing, also had that problem, and Megan as well. That's exactly what was happening to me, and my symptoms are pretty much gone.
The biggest thing I hear from people when you do our interviews of our alumni, we
Mhm.
always say, if you could turn back the clock, knowing what you know now, what's one thing you would change? And I would say universally, the most common answer we get is what?
I wish I would have met you sooner. I wish I would have done this sooner.
And I was like, I wish I had met me 20 years ago. And I didn't have to earn all this. If only I could.
I know. But yeah, again, you put in all of that hard work for everybody else. And you spent what decades, 16 plus years trying to figure this out. And now you can teach it to us though in 8 to 10 weeks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you want to learn it like over 15 years, like I did, and pay all the prices that I went through with it, or do you want to learn it in 2 months?
Yeah. I mean, 2 months definitely sounds better, right?
Sooner is 1,000 times better. Everybody who's watching here who's interested in joining my hormone masterclass, I'm going to put a link right now in chat. My hormone masterclass. There's a link to message our team right now and say, I want to join my hormone masterclass. The time is now to book a call with our team.